Hi, I'm Scott Rookes and welcome to Canoe Universe. Today's segment is going to deal with picking a paddle. So we're going to talk a little bit about different styles of paddles and how to size a paddle properly. What you need to do first of all though is decide what type of paddling you're going to be doing the most of. If you're going out twice a year and flatwater canoeing, then that's the style of paddle you should choose. If your goal is to be a really competent whitewater paddler someday, then maybe we should look at whitewater paddles. So to begin with, we're going to break down paddles into two popular groups, whitewater paddles and flatwater paddles. So before we get started on paddle selection, we need to talk a little bit about terminology so we have a common background. We've got the grip, the shaft, the throat, or sometimes called the neck, the blade, and the tip. Good. So we're going to talk a bit about flatwater paddles right now, and there are several different types of paddles you can use for flatwater. Several types of wood paddles. One is a laminated wood paddle that has different types of wood laminated throughout. There's also a one-piece, actually this is slightly laminated as well, but there are one-piece wooden paddles. There are plastic paddles, and there are carbon graphite paddles for lightweight use as well. So we need to also then look at what type of flatwater paddling you're doing. If you're going for long marathon racing trips, then you might want to invest in a more expensive carbon graphite paddle. If you're doing just a couple paddles a year and it's basic paddling, a nice cheap wooden paddle might be good enough to get you through. Even cheaper still are some of the aluminum and plastic style of paddles, or a complete plastic paddle. And some of the more diverse designs in flatwater paddles come in one piece and laminated wooden paddles. Just generally speaking, wooden paddles are more comfortable, a warmer feel to them, great for paddling all day. They come in a real variety of styles so that you can choose what's absolutely best for your type of paddling. The plastic and aluminum paddles are cheap, but tend to be sort of one style of blade, and maybe that won't be suited for your needs. Carbon Kevlar paddles are lightweight and tend to come in bent shaft models for marathon racing, but you need to decide if that's the style of paddling you're going to be doing. So a little bit more about flatwater paddles. The distinguishing element of a flatwater paddle is its pear grip. The nice rounded top grip position. The hand can shape around the paddle and paddle comfortably all day without getting tired. Whereas in whitewater, a T-grip is the more common style that you're going to find. Having said that, there is some crossover. Some of the cheap plastic paddles for flatwater do have a T-grip, and some whitewater paddles do have a pear grip. But generally speaking, that is the way we determine which is which. Now we're going to talk about blade shape a bit. There's kind of a standard paddle blade type, which might be sufficient for your needs for canoeing. It's moderately wide, and it's kind of an average depth in the water, and that will give you a pretty solid forward stroke. It's a flat blade, and that's great. Another style is sort of this tapered style, a little bit wider, a little bit deeper, which will grab more water and propel you through the water with a stronger stroke, but maybe harder over a long period of time, as it will tire you out more quickly. Another style of paddle is an Otter Tail, which is a longer, narrower blade side to side, and it's very thin, as you can see, from front to back. So this type of paddle is an excellent paddle for all-day paddling and for doing many of the more advanced strokes, such as sculling, because of its thinness and its ability to slice through the water. You need to get out on the water and try the different styles of paddle out and find out which is most suitable to your needs and which you prefer. Style of paddle like this is an Otter Tail, and an Otter Tail has the advantage of being a little narrower side to side, and when that throat is completely submerged in the water, it's a lot longer. You have more of your paddle blade under the surface, so you would think that would make the stroke harder, but the narrowness of this blade kind of lightens up that initial pull on the blade, and so you get a gradual loading of force when you take your forward stroke, and that just reduces the load on people's shoulders and arms and hands throughout the day, so it's a nice relaxing stroke. However, if you want more power from your strokes, then you should go with a blade that's a little wider, shorter, kind of fatter, and it'll pull a little bit more water for you. What'll happen is you'll get an instantaneous pull on that blade. Whitewater paddles are even more so in terms of how much water they pull in their width and their depth, and you have to make sure ultimately that you can control that type of paddle and that it's comfortable for you. So get out there and try a few types, and go down to your local dealers and see what's best for your paddling needs. Okay, now we're into the whitewater paddling blade, moving water paddling blade, if you will. I mentioned before that the distinguishing factor in a whitewater blade is the T-grip. The T-grip just allows a firmer grip, and the shape of the grip allows you to hang on to that paddle more firmly when you're hitting rocks and when you're needing to brace or roll in whitewater. It's great for position. When you're upside down and you're trying to get the orientation of the paddle, you can figure out from your T-grip hand position where your blade is on top of the water. So they're specifically designed for whitewater. They're also, of course, stronger than, let's say, a regular wooden paddle. They're made of slightly different materials. As I said, a whitewater paddle can be a wooden paddle, but usually that's a strong laminated wood paddle with a reinforced Kevlar or fiberglass tip, or sometimes a metal tip, and you just need that to withstand the rigors of the rocks that you're going to be probably hitting on in whitewater. Another way to go in whitewater is to go away from a wooden paddle, get into a slightly lighter paddle. This is a plastic blade and kind of a carbon Kevlar shaft. That's going to be a little bit lighter and probably about the same price range. And if we go into a little higher price category, we can get into a carbon graphite shaft and blade for whitewater, and that's even lighter yet. It's great for doing whitewater slalom and rodeo and just all around whitewater. It's a lightweight blade. You can see in this case both these whitewater blades are a little wider here, and they don't taper too much at the end. They stay nice and rectangular so that they grab a lot of water. Some whitewater paddles are even bigger than this, and they come quite a bit wider to grab more water. I myself like a kind of a medium-sized blade because the bigger blades are too hard for me to pull on. If you're a big person, you can usually handle a bigger blade size. If you're a smaller person, usually a smaller blade size. So take that into account. Looking at these two blades, they're about the same surface area, but there are slightly different shapes. So cost will be a determining factor. If you're going to be paddling a lot, I would say invest in a stronger composite or fiberglass, Kevlar, carbon graphite style paddle. If you're not doing too much paddling, then maybe a strong wooden whitewater paddle or one of the plastic paddles will meet your needs. Good. So again, just a little bit more about whitewater paddles. We mentioned the blade size and depth, and if we look at this blade here, it's a straight blade, and that's fine for most applications. Some people, when they get a little more intermediate advanced paddling, they want to get into something that's called a spoon blade. This paddle here has a spoon blade shape, as you can see, kind of curved in this direction. This becomes your power face or the side that's taking a forward stroke, and this becomes the side that's taking a back stroke. So you have to keep in mind that your forward stroke in a spoon blade becomes even stronger because it scoops a little bit more water, but your backstroke becomes a little bit weaker, so you have to take that into account. And as you can see here, this blade as well is a spoon blade. There are other variations on flatwater and whitewater paddles. As I mentioned, bent shaft. There are ergonomic shafts for whitewater paddling as well, and I won't get into those, but you need to get down to your local shop and try them out and really just see what works best for you.